Hi everyone, my name's Stacey and welcome back to Fibro After Dark. Thank you so much for being here with me again for another week. I really, really do appreciate everybody taking their time to join me on the podcast and also for connecting with me on social media in the week. It really is really appreciated. So this episode isn't what I originally had planned to record this week, but after the week I've had, I felt like there was only one thing that I could really talk about, and that is flare-ups. So this week I have been in one of the worst flare-ups that I've had for a very, very long time. And whilst I was lying in bed, feeling frustrated, exhausted, really, really emotional, I realised that this is something that we don't really talk about enough. Not just the symptoms, but actually what a flare-up feels like, including the loneliness, the confusion, the guilt, the massive disruption to your whole life and your plans, not to mention the complete ugly crying and the way it just affects every part of your life. So today I wanted to talk openly about flare-ups, what they are and what this week has looked like to me. Before we start, please hit like, subscribe to the channel. It really does make such a big difference. So what is the flare-up? If you're new to chronic illness or fibromyalgia, you might be wondering what a flare-up actually is. The truth is, a flare-up can look different for everybody. Some people experience increased pain, others experience crushing fatigue. Some struggle with migraines, dizziness, nausea, sensory overload, brain fog. There's so many different symptoms. And whilst everyone's flare-ups are unique, there are usually a few things that many of us have in common. And that is that our symptoms become more intense. Our energy completely disappears and simple tasks suddenly feel completely impossible. The things that we normally manage to muddle through on a day-to-day basis become completely out of your reach, whether that's a simple task or a complicated task. It doesn't matter. It's not happening. And it's like somebody has just turned the volume up on every single symptom at once. And I tend to explain it as though somebody has flicked a switch inside my body, and all I can do is wait it out until the switch gets flicked back. That's not to say there aren't things that can help, but overall, a flare-up is really, really hard. So this week has completely stopped me in my tracks. I've been sleeping far more than usual. Saturday was my first day I had with my partner at home, and I really wanted to do something special and spend some quality time together because we don't get that very often. And all I ended up doing was speaking complete gibberish and sleeping. It was completely pointless. And it wasn't that I wanted to. I didn't choose that. I wasn't being lazy, staying in bed all day. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't hungover. It was just my body just didn't give me another option. That was all that was going to happen. And I've had days where I've slept and I've woken up and still felt exhausted, and days where I've looked at simple tasks and felt completely overwhelmed. And the brain fog for me is a really, really big thing. And I don't think people always realise that a flare-up isn't just physical, it is mental as well. I struggled to think clearly. I struggled to string a sentence together. And honestly, sometimes it feels like my brain and my body are speaking completely different languages. Something else that I've experienced this week is a complete lack of appetite. So I know so many people with chronic illness will understand this, but you should eat, especially when you're in a flare-up. Your body needs that fuel, but absolutely nothing sounds appealing. And it's more than that as well. It's even like the thought of eating makes you feel physically sick. You're simply just not interested in food. And then, of course, that feeds the fatigue and it makes everything even harder. But honestly, when I thought about food this week, I have genuinely felt physically sick. It's not been a choice to not eat. It's just completely not at all appealing. And one of the strangest feelings that I have as well during a flare-up is the loneliness. And I am really, really blessed that I have friends who message me. I have people that check in I have an amazing partner. He's great. He's really, really supportive. I'm super close to my brother as well. So he's always checking in on me and, asking if I need anything. I know he's only ever a phone call away. And I'm really, really lucky that I do have such a supportive network around me. And I know that people around me want to help as well. It's just that when you're in a flare up, even replying to a message is overwhelming. It's just, my symptoms when I'm in a flare up, I struggle to speak. That's a big thing for me in a flare. That having a conversation with me when I'm in a flare up is like speaking to somebody who is drunk and they also have dementia. It's a massive, massive part of my symptoms. And then because of this, I end up in this weird situation where I desperately want connection. I want a conversation with somebody, but I don't have the energy to engage with it. So I'm craving affection. I'm craving somebody to sit with me and talk to me. I want comfort, but answering a message suddenly feels like climbing a mountain. And I know I'm not the only one that experiences this. You want people around you, you want to have a conversation, but you just do not have the energy to initiate it or to see it through. And flare-ups don't just affect us, they affect our plans and our commitments and our routine. An amazing person on my social media who I've had the honour of being able to connect with was speaking the other day about the effect a flare-up has on their children, how cancelling plans affects them. And this is something that I really, really want to expand on in the future, as I think there are so many different aspects of this illness that stretch so much further to ourselves. This week I've had to cancel plans and I've had to ring in sick at work again. I've had to postpone things. I've had to delay things. And that includes my podcast plans as well. Every time a flare up happens, there's always that little voice telling me I've let someone down. Even though logically, I know I haven't chosen to be like this. I haven't chosen to be in bed constantly. But I think so many of us carry the guilt that just simply doesn't belong to us, but we carry it anyway. Because if our friend was unwell, we'd be telling them to rest. It doesn't matter, it's fine. We can do X, Y, Z another time. And this is something like a reoccurring theme through my podcast is how we talk to other people compared to how we talk to ourselves. And that we should really take note of that and be kinder to ourselves, because somehow we are just so hard on ourselves. There's things that are completely out of our control. And something else as well that I think people don't talk about enough is the financial side of flare-ups. So when you're unable to function properly, work becomes harder, productivity disappears, plans get cancelled, and all of that can bring a lot of anxiety. And chronic illness is already expensive. And flare-ups often amplify all those worries, especially when you have to call in sick to work. And, if you're like me, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So you lose another day's pay. And then that's more worry because you're a day's pay down. So you've got to make that money back somewhere. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm personally so mentally exhausted, because I'm not just managing symptoms, I'm managing the aftermath and the consequences of those symptoms too. And something that I'm really aware of is when I return to work after a flare-up, it's not like a cold or a sickness bug. I don't have a lingering runny nose. I don't look pale from vomiting all night. And for someone who has called in sick for multiple days or even a week, I think people expect some kind of aftermath. And I come in and I look absolutely fine, but I find myself like playing up to this expectation almost. It's really hard to explain, but I'll purposely put my glasses on, for instance, instead of my contact lenses so that I look different, because I'm so aware that I look the same as I always do when I've been off work with a flare-up to when I've been in work perfectly fine. And how do you explain that? Sorry, I wasn't in. I had to sleep. I think society has got a long, long way to go on understanding invisible illnesses. And I think that's, more and more prevalent in the workplace, definitely. And I know in one of my previous episodes, I spoke about when I lost my career, and I think within a non-managerial role, I think it's actually worse in some ways to have a chronic illness because people just don't understand, or even if they understand, they don't really understand. So, things that helped me during a flare up. A couple of episodes ago, I mentioned that at Fibro_Girly on Instagram had recommended some electrolytes to me, as I'd never heard of electrolytes before, live under a little rock, never heard of them, never tried them. So Jade, who's behind the account, recommended these electrolytes to me. And I can honestly say, after a couple of weeks, that they really do make such a big difference to my overall energy. Either on a flare day or a non-flare day, I notice a difference. But also for me personally, during a flare, I have like this overwhelming thirst. Like I'm just so thirsty all the time. And I do find that electrolytes help so much with that. So thank you to Jade at Fibro_Girly on Instagram for the tip. Please go follow her. She's great. Her Instagram account is brilliant. It's full of lots of tips and just relatable content. I also use a lot of compression aids. I love compression aids. And different pillows as well. So I have so many supportive pillows. I have a pregnancy pillow, I have a knee pillow, I have a leg raiser pillow, along with an extensive range of different compression aids. So I have compression gloves, socks, knee supports, ankle supports. I do find that they help massively for me personally. And as much as I hate having flare-ups, they do teach me that rest isn't optional. They teach me to be patient with myself, to be kind to myself, that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, and that sometimes surviving the week is enough. You don't have to thrive and be productive all the time. Sometimes it's just about getting through the week. That's okay. It's okay to not tick everything off your to-do list. I would love to hear from you on what a flare-up looks like for you and what helps you during a flare-up. This is definitely a topic I'm going to come back to and cover in a lot more detail than today's check-in video, because I am aware that this is a very, very short video because my brain is still not 100% connected. But thank you so much for spending time with me today. My notebook has been exceptionally empty this week. Usually I'm like writing away all the time with things that I want to talk about, with ideas, with things that I think might help people or things that I've read. But my notebook has been exceptionally empty this week. So I'm just winging it today. I'm just going for it completely off the top of my head. So if you are in a flare-up right now, please know that you are not alone. Be gentle with yourself. Rest if your body is saying rest. If it's screaming out for you to go to bed, just go to bed. It's fine. If you need a pause, it doesn't mean that you failed. Sometimes your body is asking you to slow down. And if you ignore it, all that happens is instead of it taking a day for you to recover, it's going to take you 2 days, 3 days. So listen to your body, be kind to yourself, and I will speak to you very soon on the next episode of Fibro After Dark. Thank you so much for listening.